History is not the simple story you were taught in school. An ancient computer built 2,000 years ago defies everything we know about technological progress. This video will reveal 28 unveiled relics that challenge our entire understanding of the ancient world. You will see a map that accurately depicts a continent hidden under ice for millennia, and a battery that may have powered devices long before electricity was discovered. By the end, you will question the very timeline of human achievement. What do these mysterious objects say about forgotten chapters of our past, tucked inside a corroded lump of bronze and wood recovered from an ancient shipwreck, a secret waited for 2,000 years? When archaeologists first pulled the Antikythera Mechanism from the waters off Greece, they had no idea they were holding a fragment of a technological revolution. This was not a simple statue or a common pot. It was a complex machine, an intricate clockwork of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears housed in a wooden case. Its dials and inscriptions formed a sophisticated astronomical calculator capable of predicting the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets. It could even forecast eclipses and track the timing of ancient Olympic Games. The sheer precision of its engineering is staggering. How could a civilization from 200 years before the Common Era possess the knowledge to manufacture such a device? The gears are cut with a degree of accuracy that would not be seen again until the rise of sophisticated clockwork in Europe, more than 1,000 years later. This was not merely a tool, it was a physical manifestation of a deep understanding of cosmic cycles and mechanical principles. The existence of the Antikythera Mechanism suggests that ancient Greek science had reached a zenith of practical application, a level of sophistication that history books simply did not account for. Its very presence forces us to ask what other knowledge was on that ship, and what was lost when it sank beneath the waves. This single relic rewrites our understanding of ancient innovation, proving that the seeds of complex machinery were planted far earlier than we ever imagined. And if such a device could be built in the Mediterranean, what other marvels were being conceived on the other side of the world? While the Greeks were charting the heavens with bronze gears, an even more fundamental force was being harnessed in the ancient Middle East. In the dusty ruins of a Parthian village near modern Baghdad, archaeologists uncovered a collection of seemingly mundane objects. They found a simple clay jar, no larger than a hand, sealed with an asphalt stopper. Inside, a copper cylinder housed an iron rod. To the untrained eye, it was just a sealed container, perhaps for holding scrolls or precious herbs. But when researchers filled the jar with an acidic liquid like vinegar or wine, something remarkable happened. The device produced a small but measurable electric current. This is the Baghdad Battery, a relic from 2,000 years ago that fundamentally challenges who we think discovered electricity. The purpose of this ancient cell is one of history's most tantalizing puzzles. Some theorists suggest it was used for electroplating, to deposit a thin layer of gold or silver onto other metal objects, a practice that would rewrite the history of ancient craftsmanship. Others propose it had a medical application, perhaps providing a mild, tingling sensation for therapeutic purposes, an ancient form of electrotherapy. While the single volt it generates seems insignificant to us, in a world devoid of any other electrical sources, its effect would have been nothing short of miraculous. The true intention may be lost to time, but the physical principle is undeniable. Someone, 2 millennia ago, understood the basic concept of a chemical reaction creating electrical energy. This was not a theoretical idea, it was a working prototype. How many of these jars were there? Were they ever linked together to create a more powerful source? The existence of the Baghdad Battery forces us to reconsider a linear timeline of scientific progress. It suggests that the spark of discovery can flicker into life in unexpected times and places, only to be forgotten, waiting centuries to be reignited. If something as foundational as a battery could be built and then lost, what other immense structures might have been possible with forgotten knowledge? Deep within the tropical forests of Costa Rica, hundreds of massive stone spheres lie scattered across the landscape, ranging from the size of a small melon to colossal orbs over 16 tons. These perfectly round balls were carved from solid granite with a precision that defies logical explanation. Their surfaces are incredibly smooth, their shapes achieving a near-perfect spherical geometry that seems almost impossible for an ancient culture to have created. Who carved these giant balls and with what tools? The indigenous peoples of the Diquis Delta left no written records, only these silent, enigmatic sentinels. The effort required to shape, transport, and position them would have been immense, suggesting a society with sophisticated social organization and advanced stone-working knowledge. Some researchers believe the spheres were arranged in complex patterns, perhaps aligned with celestial bodies to function as astronomical calendars. Others theorize they were symbols of power, marking the territories of powerful chieftains or serving as sacred monuments. Yet their true purpose remains one of Central America's most enduring mysteries. The sheer perfection of their forms speaks of a lost understanding of geometry and craftsmanship, a silent testament to a culture whose capabilities we are only just beginning to appreciate. These spheres challenge our perception of so-called primitive societies, proving that ancient ingenuity could manifest in forms both beautiful and profoundly mysterious. But what if an ancient artifact did not just hint at lost knowledge, but seemed to depict technology from a future that had not yet arrived? In a quiet corner of an Egyptian tomb, a small wooden artifact lay undisturbed for over 2,000 years. Known as the Saqqara Bird, this delicate object carved from sycamore wood dates back to around 200 years before the Common Era. At first glance, it appears to be a stylized bird, perhaps a hawk or falcon, a common motif in ancient Egyptian art. But a closer look reveals something extraordinary. Its wings are not merely decorative, they are perfectly straight and aerodynamically shaped, with a distinct vertical tail fin that is completely unlike the horizontal tail of any real bird. This tail fin serves a specific and sophisticated purpose. It provides lateral stability in flight, a principle that would not be formally understood until the dawn of modern aviation. This is not just a carving, it is a model of a fixed-wing aircraft. When modern engineers placed replicas of the Saqqara Bird into wind tunnels, the results were startling. The design possesses exceptional gliding capabilities. With a slight adjustment, such as the addition of the horizontal stabilizer it seems to lack, it would be a fully functional, flight-worthy glider. So what was its purpose? Was it merely a child's toy tossed into the sand by a forgotten boy? Or was it a ceremonial object, a model of a sacred bark meant for ritual? The most compelling theory, however, is that it was a scale model, a prototype for something much larger. Could the ancient Egyptians have been observing the principles of aerodynamics, perhaps even experimenting with manned gliders? We have no records of such endeavors, no hieroglyphics depicting flight. Yet the object itself is a silent, physical argument. It suggests that the spark of discovery, the intuitive grasp of lift and stability, may have flickered in a mind millennia ago. This small wooden bird forces us to consider that the dream of flight is far older than the Wright brothers, a secret whispered from the past, challenging our monopoly on innovation. And if a culture could conceptualize flight, What other physical laws might they have been exploring in places where the stones themselves seem to defy gravity? High in the Bolivian Altiplano, the stones of Puma lie shattered as if by some colossal, deliberate force. These are not simple building blocks. They are a complex, interlocking puzzle of andesite and granite, some weighing over 100 tons, carved with a geometric precision that seems to defy the very tools of the era. The surfaces are flawlessly smooth, with edges so sharp and straight they appear to have been sliced by a machine. Even more baffling are the intricate channels and drill holes that perforate the hard stone, some so perfectly cylindrical and uniform that they suggest the use of a technology we would recognize as advanced diamond-tipped drills. The Tiwanaku people who built this are believed to have had only stone hammers and copper chisels at their disposal. So how did they achieve cuts more precise than what some modern laser tools can produce? The stones fit together with such exactness that not even a razor blade can slide between them, a building technique that required no mortar and has withstood millennia of earthquakes. The sheer logistical nightmare of transporting these monolithic slabs from quarries over 50 miles away, across mountainous terrain and to an altitude of nearly 13,000 feet, is a mystery in itself. Puma does not feel like a ruin. It feels like the skeletal remains of a technology we can scarcely comprehend. A silent, stone argument that our current narrative of the past is missing entire chapters of engineering genius. From this South American marvel of impossible stonework, we travel to a European enigma that seems to capture light itself in a labyrinth of stone. While the stones of Puma present a physical puzzle of impossible engineering, another relic offers a mystery of pure information. In the vault of a university library lies a book that has refused to give up its secrets for over 5 centuries. The Voynich Manuscript is a handwritten codex from the 15th century, its pages filled from edge to edge with a script that belongs to no known language. Every single character is unique, yet utterly incomprehensible. Accompanying this unknown text are illustrations that are just as bizarre. There are drawings of plants that do not resemble any species on Earth, their roots and leaves arranged in impossible biological configurations. There are intricate astronomical charts featuring celestial bodies in unfamiliar constellations. And there are strange, circular diagrams showing groups of nude women bathing in interconnected, tub-like pools filled with a vibrant green fluid. The entire book is a cascade of unanswered questions. Who was the author? What purpose could such a laborious work possibly serve? For decades, the world's top military cryptographers, linguists, and mathematicians have tried to crack its code, employing everything from complex statistical analysis to artificial intelligence. Yet every attempt has failed. The patterns within the text suggest it is not a random forgery, but a structured language with its own syntax and rules. So what is it? Some believe it could be an elaborate cipher protecting the secrets of medieval alchemy. Others propose it is a medical or botanical text from a completely lost culture, its knowledge now alien to us. The most tantalizing possibility is that it is a genuine glimpse into a system of knowledge so different from our own that we no longer possess the key to understand it. This manuscript is a humbling reminder that the past can guard its secrets with an unbreakable code, leaving us with a beautiful, frustrating, and silent testament to the limits of our understanding. But what if the evidence for lost knowledge wasn't confined to a single book, but was instead spread across the entire globe, etched into the very landscape by ancient explorers? A single silver coin, no larger than a thumbnail, was unearthed from the dirt of a Native American shell midden in Maine. This was the Maine Penny, and its origins were unmistakably Norse, minted somewhere between 1065 and 1080. For decades, the story of Vikings in North America was confined to a single, brief settlement at Elance Ox Meadows in Newfoundland, a campsite used for perhaps a decade before being abandoned. But this coin tells a different, more expansive story. It was found far to the south, nestled among artifacts from a thriving Penobscot Indian settlement, a place active centuries before Columbus set sail. How did an 11th century Norse coin travel hundreds of miles from the only known Viking foothold? It could not have walked there on its own. This tiny piece of silver is a powerful testament to contact. It suggests that Norse explorers, the Vikings, ventured much further along the North American coast than we have evidence for, and that their encounters with native peoples were not always fleeting or violent. This coin could have been traded, a curious trinket passed from hand to hand over great distances through indigenous trade networks. Or perhaps it was lost by a Norse traveler himself, evidence of a journey we have yet to rediscover. The Maine Penny forces us to redraw the map of the ancient world, replacing isolated continents with a vision of at least occasional, tentative connections across the Atlantic. It challenges the clean, simple narrative of discovery we were taught, suggesting a more complex, interconnected human story written in scattered fragments. If a Norse coin could find its way to Maine, what other exchanges of knowledge or technology might have occurred in the shadows of prehistory, hinting at a world where ancient energy was not just a myth but a tangible force? The walls of the Hathor Temple at Dendera hold a carving that looks utterly out of place. Etched into the stone is a surreal scene, a large, pear-shaped object that bears a striking resemblance to a modern light bulb. Inside this bulb, a snake stretches its length, held in place by what appear to be support beams, all connected by a thick cable to a box upon which a baboon is seated. To the modern eye, it is an almost irresistible image of ancient electrical technology, a depiction of a Crookes tube or some other form of illumination. Could this be proof that the Egyptians harnessed electric light, banishing the darkness of their deepest tombs and temples with more than just flickering torches and polished reflectors? Mainstream archaeology offers a different, symbolic interpretation. They see the Dendera Light not as technology, but as mythology, a representation of the creation myth involving the snake god Hemsut emerging from a lotus flower, a symbol of birth and cosmic power. The box and cable are not electrical components, but the jed pillar, a symbol of stability, and the snake itself is a form of the sun god. The debate hinges entirely on perspective. Is this a literal blueprint for a forgotten device, or a profound spiritual allegory carved in stone? The truth may be lost to the ages, but the very existence of such a compellingly modern image in an ancient temple forces us to confront our assumptions. It challenges us to ask if we are too quick to dismiss the symbolic as impossible, or too eager to see our own technology in the sacred art of the past. This single relief keeps a powerful question alive, illuminating not a tomb, but the vast gaps in our understanding of Egyptian knowledge. If such a sophisticated concept could be so perfectly, yet ambiguously, depicted, what does that say about the origins of civilization itself? Perhaps some relics do not just suggest a different past, but point to a timeline far older than we ever dared to consider. Nestled within a solid lump of Cretaceous rock, a simple tool became an impossible paradox. Known as the London Hammer, this object was discovered in Texas in the 1930s, completely encased in a stone concretion that geologists date to well over 100 million years old. It is a miner's hammer with a wooden handle that has been partially petrified and an iron head of a distinctive, old-fashioned design. The problem is devastatingly simple. According to everything we know, humans capable of forging iron did not exist when that rock formed. The hammer should not be there. If its encasement is authentic, then it is an artifact out of time, a relic from an era when only dinosaurs roamed the earth. Skeptics offer a plausible explanation, suggesting the hammer is a 19th century tool dropped into a creek where dissolved minerals quickly concreted around it, creating a deceptive, ancient-looking shell. Yet, analyses of the iron itself have shown a peculiar purity, with a strangely low sulfur content that some argue is indicative of an advanced, unknown metallurgical process. This small, unassuming hammer strikes at the foundation of our historical and geological timelines. It forces us to confront the idea of OOPArts, out-of-place artifacts, objects that appear where they simply should not be. Could it be a lone anomaly, a geological fluke, or does it point to a deeper, more radical possibility that our understanding of time itself is flawed, that other intelligent beings or perhaps even a lost human civilization existed in a distant, unrecorded past? The London hammer does not offer answers, only a profound and unsettling question. While this tool challenges the depths of time, another relic seems to have captured the entire world on a single sheet of parchment, a map that should have been impossible to draw. A world map from 1513 should not contain its greatest secret, drawn on gazelle skin by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. This map is a stunning work of art and precision. It accurately charts the coast of South America, a remarkable feat for its time, but it is the lower portion of the map that plunges us into a deep mystery. There, stretching below the Atlantic, lies a detailed coastline that should not exist on any chart from that era. It is the northern shore of Antarctica. The official discovery of that frozen continent would not occur for another 300 years. The impossibility deepens. The Piri Reis map does not show Antarctica as a land of ice. It depicts its topography as a bare, ice-free continent with rivers, mountains, and bays. This is a landscape that has been hidden under a mile-thick sheet of ice for at least 6,000 years. So how could a 16th century admiral have known what lay beneath? Piri Reis himself wrote notes on the map, claiming he compiled it from many source maps, including some that dated back to the time of Alexander the Great. This admission is explosive. It suggests he was working from far older, more advanced cartographic knowledge, a legacy of sea kings and explorers from a forgotten age. These would have been civilizations capable of global exploration, mapping a world very different from our own. The map implies a lost chapter of human history, one where ancient mariners sailed polar seas that were once temperate, charting lands that would later vanish under the ice. This single piece of parchment is more than a map. It is a ghost image of a lost world, a silent scream from a past we thought we knew. If such sophisticated geographical knowledge existed and was then lost, what other continents, now submerged beneath the waves, might our ancestors have known and named? Another object pulled from the stone seems to defy time itself. In 1961, 3 rockhound enthusiasts were searching for geodes near Olancha, California, when they cracked open what appeared to be a completely ordinary ancient nodule. Inside, instead of the expected crystalline cavity, they found a mechanical surprise. The object was a cylinder of hardened clay surrounding a 2mm metal shaft, all encased within a hexagonal ceramic-like shell. To any modern observer, it looks unmistakably like a 20th century spark plug. The problem, according to the finders, was the geology. The concretion surrounding this mechanical object was a geode, a formation that typically takes hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of years to develop. How could a piece of modern machinery be sealed inside a stone that predates humanity itself? Dubbed the Coso Artifact, this relic became an instant sensation among those who study anomalies. Skeptics quickly offered a rational explanation, suggesting the object is exactly what it appears to be, a 1920s-era champion spark plug that somehow became encased in a fast-forming iron nodule, not an ancient geode. The hard clay around it could be hardened mud from the desert, and the whole assembly might have been a discarded piece of mining equipment. Yet, for its supporters, the mystery persists. The artifact symbolizes a powerful and enduring human quest, the desire to find physical proof that our timeline is wrong, that advanced technology is not a unique product of our modern age but a cycle that has repeated itself in a forgotten epoch. It represents the tantalizing, almost romantic hope that we are not the first, but merely the latest to discover the secrets of the machine. From this potential mechanical relic, we pivot to an artifact that presents not a scientific, but an artistic and historical paradox. Deep in the Ica region of Peru, a local farmer began producing stones that would ignite a firestorm of controversy. He claimed to have discovered them in a secret cave, and they were unlike any artifacts ever seen. These are the Ica Stones, thousands of andesite rocks carved with intricate scenes that defy conventional history. Their surfaces depict humans interacting with creatures we would instantly recognize as dinosaurs, not as fossilized skeletons, but as living, breathing animals. One shows a man riding a triceratops like a domesticated beast of burden. Another illustrates a startlingly accurate heart surgery, with a patient connected to what appears to be a complex system of tubes. Other stones are etched with detailed star maps and images of advanced technology. If these carvings are genuine, they would shatter our understanding of the past, suggesting a time when humanity coexisted with long-extinct giants and possessed medical and astronomical knowledge that would not be rediscovered for millennia. The scientific consensus is overwhelmingly skeptical, labeling the stones an elaborate 20th-century hoax. The farmer himself eventually admitted to carving many of them, fueled by a lucrative tourist trade. Yet the mystery is not so easily dismissed. The sheer volume of the stones, numbering in the tens of thousands, and the remarkable consistency of their complex themes across decades, gives even skeptics pause. Could one man, or even a small group, have possessed the artistic skill and the breadth of esoteric knowledge to produce such a vast and coherent collection? The stones force a difficult question. How do we separate a brilliant forgery from a genuine relic that simply does not fit our established timeline? They challenge the very methods we use to authenticate the past, reminding us that sometimes the most compelling evidence is also the most suspect. This controversy of human hands and ancient beasts gives way to an object of pure, chilling perfection, one that seems to have been formed not by tools but by some unknown power. The crystal skulls of legend await their turn in the spotlight. The allure of perfect, impossible objects finds its ultimate expression in the crystal skulls. Carved from a single block of flawless quartz, these artifacts, like the famed Mitchell Hedges skull, possess a mesmerizing quality. Their surfaces are impossibly smooth, their features anatomically precise, and their jawbones are often separate, moving with a delicate click. The legend claims they are ancient relics of Mesoamerican cultures, perhaps Aztec or Maya, imbued with mystical powers of healing, clairvoyance, or even storing the knowledge of lost civilizations. Scientific analysis, however, tells a more earthly story. Microscopic examination reveals tool marks consistent with modern, rotary-powered engravers, not the hand-powered abrasives available to pre-Columbian artisans. The evidence points strongly to their creation in the workshops of 19th-century Europe, masterpieces of lapidary art crafted for a burgeoning market of collectors fascinated by the exotic. Yet the legend persists untarnished by carbon dating or technical reports. Why? Because the skulls represent something more profound than their disputed origin. They are perfect vessels for our imagination, physical symbols of the eternal human quest for meaning and connection to a mysterious, perhaps more enlightened past. They embody the very idea that some artifacts are not meant to be solved, only to be wondered at. This fascination with Eastern craftsmanship and hidden knowledge leads us to another relic, one that seems to defy the very materials from which it was made. Rising over 22 feet in the air, a pillar of iron has defied the elements for more than 1,600 years. The Iron Pillar of Delhi, erected in the 4th century, stands today with a smooth, dark surface that shows almost no sign of the rust that should have consumed it centuries ago. This is not ordinary iron. Modern analysis has revealed its secret, a remarkably high purity of the metal itself, combined with a unique, protective layer of phosphorus that has acted as a shield against the relentless assault of moisture and oxygen. The craftsmanship is so advanced that even contemporary metallurgists marvel at its composition, a perfect recipe for longevity that we struggle to replicate with our modern understanding. How did ancient Indian blacksmiths, working over a millennium and a half ago, possess the knowledge to create such a perfect alloy? They achieved a level of purity and corrosion resistance that seems to belong to a different era of technology altogether. This pillar is not merely a monument, it is a timeless lesson in materials science, a silent, enduring testament to a forgotten pinnacle of engineering. If such sophisticated metalworking was possible in ancient India, how far did that knowledge travel? Could it have influenced other cultures across the globe, carried by explorers whose journeys we are only beginning to uncover? Buried in a pre-Columbian grave in the valley of Toluca, a small terracotta head stares out with features that are completely out of place. Known as the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head, this artifact was discovered in a burial context that securely dates it to sometime between the 9th and 13th centuries, long before any European ships officially reached the Americas. Yet its style is unmistakable. The beard, the distinct facial structure, and the classic technique of the carving bear a striking resemblance to Hellenistic Roman art from the other side of the world. It looks less like a product of Mesoamerican culture and more like a small portrait from the Roman Empire. How did such an object find its way into an ancient Mexican burial? The most straightforward explanation is also the most revolutionary. It suggests direct transoceanic contact. Could a Roman vessel, blown off course or on a deliberate, forgotten expedition, have made the perilous Atlantic crossing? The idea challenges the very core of our historical narrative, which holds that the continents remained isolated until Columbus. Skeptics argue the head could be a colonial-era artifact that somehow contaminated an older archaeological layer, or perhaps a bizarre artistic anomaly, a one-in-a-million stylistic fluke from a local artisan. But the secure dating of the burial site makes such explanations difficult to accept. This single, unassuming head carries the weight of a profound possibility. It hints at a world where the oceans were not absolute barriers, but highways for at least a few intrepid explorers. It suggests that the ancient globe might have been far more interconnected than our history books dare to admit, with threads of contact that were brief, fragile, and ultimately lost to time. This relic does not just represent a potential voyage, it represents a forgotten conversation between two worlds. While this artifact suggests a connection across the Atlantic, another relic points to a technological leap in the Americas that seems to defy the very materials available. Their silent stone gaze has watched over a remote Pacific island for centuries. The Moai of Easter Island are more than just colossal heads. They are full-bodied figures carved from compressed volcanic ash, some standing over 30 feet tall and weighing as much as 80 tons. The most profound mystery is not their creation, but their journey. How did a society with no wheels, no draft animals, and only simple tools move these giants from the quarry to their coastal platforms, some over 10 miles away. For a long time, the accepted theory involved log rollers and vast armies of people pulling them on sleds, a method that would have consumed the island's fragile forest resources. But a revolutionary new idea suggests a different, almost magical solution, that the statues themselves were made to walk. In recent experiments, archaeologists demonstrated that with just 3 ropes and a small team of people, a full-scale replica moai could be rocked from side to side, creating a shuffling, forward momentum that makes the massive stone figure appear to stride across the landscape. This walking method is incredibly efficient, requiring far fewer people and no timber at all. It transforms the act of transportation from a grueling logistical nightmare into a coordinated, almost ritualistic dance. Imagine the sight, a towering stone giant swaying rhythmically as it marches toward the sea, guided by the chants and pulls of its creators. This theory not only solves the practical puzzle, but also reimagines the Rapa Nui people not as reckless destroyers of their environment, but as ingenious engineers who understood balance, rhythm, and physics in a way we are only now beginning to comprehend. The moai stand as a testament to what human cooperation and brilliant problem-solving can achieve, even in the most isolated corner of the world. This story of monumental stonework finds a strange echo in a very different kind of relic, a book filled not with carvings, but with coded messages waiting for a key. 6 meters of vellum unfold to reveal a world where science and magic were one. The Ripley Scroll, a 16th-century masterpiece of alchemical art, is not merely a manuscript but a sprawling visual epic. Its entire length is filled with intricate cryptic illustrations and densely packed text, all describing in symbolic code the elusive process for creating the Philosopher's Stone. This was the ultimate goal, a substance believed to transmute base metals into gold and grant eternal life. The scroll's imagery is a labyrinth of kings and queens, dragons and lions, all representing different chemical substances and spiritual states. It depicts a profound journey of transformation, where the lead of the soul and the lead of metal were purified together in a grand, cosmic furnace. To dismiss this as mere pseudoscience is to miss its true significance. The Ripley Scroll represents a monumental, systematic search for the fundamental principles of the universe, a time when the laboratory and the chapel were not so far apart. The alchemists were not just primitive chemists, they were philosophers and mystics seeking to understand creation itself through a language of symbols that married physical experiments with spiritual enlightenment. This beautiful, perplexing artifact is a testament to a completely different way of thinking, one that saw the material and the divine as inextricably linked. Yet for all its complex symbolism, the Ripley Scroll was part of a shared, if secretive, tradition. Its codes, while difficult, were meant to be understood by a select few. But what happens when we encounter a language that has no key, a script that stands completely alone, with no known relatives in all of human history? The Phaistos Disc rests in a museum case, a simple circle of fired clay that holds one of the ancient world's most impenetrable secrets. Discovered in the Minoan Palace of Phaistos on Crete, its surface is a mesmerizing spiral of 241 symbols, each one stamped individually into the clay with a precision that speaks of a formal, established system. We see human heads, birds, flowers, and geometric shapes, all arranged in a sequence that feels deliberate and meaningful, yet not a single word of this script can be read. No other artifact bearing this language has ever been found anywhere on Earth. It is a unique message, a linguistic island in a sea of silence. Was this a sacred hymn, a royal proclamation, or perhaps a sophisticated game? Every attempt to decipher it has collapsed under the weight of its isolation. Without a parallel text, a Rosetta Stone for this unique code, the disc remains stubbornly mute. It is the ultimate locked door from a lost civilization, a poignant reminder that entire systems of knowledge and communication can vanish without a trace, leaving behind only a beautiful, circular puzzle. This object represents a profound loss, a single, silent voice from the Minoan world that we can see but cannot hear. If an entire language can be so completely erased, what other intimate knowledge of the ancient world, perhaps even of the human body itself, has been forgotten? Another relic steps directly from the realm of science fiction. The Lolladoff Plate is a stone disc said to have been found in a cave in Nepal, carved with a scene that feels unnervingly familiar. A central figure stands with a large, hairless head and oversized, almond-shaped eyes, a near-perfect match for the modern archetype of a gray alien. Next to this being is a distinct, spiraling pattern that looks less like a decorative motif and more like a diagram of a spiral galaxy. The implications are as profound as they are controversial. If genuine, this single artifact could suggest ancient contact with extraterrestrial visitors, a concept popularized as the ancient astronaut theory. Yet the plate's entire history is shrouded in doubt. Its provenance is shaky at best, and most experts dismiss it as a clever 20th century forgery, a piece of modern folk art crafted to feed a growing cultural fascination with UFOs and lost civilizations. Its power, however, lies not in its authenticity, but in its endurance. The Lolladoff Plate continues to circulate in books and documentaries, a testament to our deep desire to find our own world reflected in the artifacts of the past. It challenges not just history, but the very way we validate it. How do we separate a genuine mystery from a story we desperately want to be true? This plate highlights the powerful intersection of myth and materialism, reminding us that sometimes an object's greatest significance is not in its age, but in the questions it forces us to ask about belief, evidence, and our own place in the cosmos. From this disputed enigma, we turn to a relic whose wonder is universally accepted, a golden artifact of such intricate craftsmanship it seems spun from a dream. Even the most advanced modern engineering struggles to replicate its perfection. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not a single object you can hold in your hand, but it is perhaps the most monumental relic of all. Its construction is a symphony of impossible details. The base is almost a perfect square, with sides aligned to the 4 cardinal directions with an error of less than 1/15 of a degree. This alignment with true north is more precise than what the Royal Observatory in London achieved in the 17th century. The pyramid's dimensions seem to encode the mathematical constant pi, and its proportions may reflect the very radius of the Earth. How did its builders, nearly 5,000 years ago, achieve such staggering accuracy using only simple tools? The logistics are even more mind-boggling. Over 2 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, were quarried, transported across the Nile, and hoisted into place with such precision that you cannot force a credit card between them. We are told it was built by tens of thousands of workers using ramps, ropes, and copper chisels, yet no one can fully explain the process. This structure is more than a tomb. It is a mountain of applied mathematics and astronomy, a permanent fingerprint of a civilization whose capabilities we are still working to comprehend. It forces us to abandon the idea of simple, primitive cultures and accept that the ancient Egyptians possessed a deep, systematic knowledge of the world that rivaled, and in some ways surpassed, our own for millennia. From this ultimate monument of stone, we turn our eyes to the sky, where a different culture left behind a relic that captures the very essence of flight. Gold figurines from the Quimbaya culture of Colombia seem to defy their ancient origins. Crafted between 1,000 and 1,500 years ago, these small, intricate objects are officially classified as zoomorphic, representing stylized birds, insects, or even flying fish. But to a modern eye, their shapes are startlingly familiar. They possess sleek, fuselage-like bodies, perfectly straight delta wings, and distinct vertical tail stabilizers. These are not the curved, organic forms of living creatures. They are the sharp, geometric angles of high-speed aircraft. When these artifacts were re-examined in the 1990s, aeronautical engineers placed models of them in wind tunnels. The results were astonishing. The designs demonstrated exceptional aerodynamic properties, stable in flight even at high speeds. One particular model, often called the Golden Jet, looks so much like a modern fighter plane that it becomes difficult to see it as anything else. So what are we truly looking at? Did the Quimbaya artists, through sheer coincidence, create shapes that mirror technology from millennia in their future, or were they depicting something they had witnessed? The mainstream explanation holds that these are simply sophisticated artistic abstractions of nature, that a hummingbird's form was streamlined into these mechanical-looking shapes over generations. Yet the precision of the aerodynamic principles challenges this comfortable view. These artifacts force a profound question about how we interpret the past. Are we too quick to dismiss the literal in favor of the symbolic? The Quimbaya Airplanes, whether ancient models or artistic flukes, remind us that the line between observation and imagination in ancient art is perhaps far thinner than we suppose. This invitation to see the familiar in the ancient shifts from gold to stone, as we examine a relic that does not depict flight, but instead charts the world with impossible accuracy. A stone slab weighing over a ton holds a landscape frozen in miniature. Discovered in the Russian Urals, the Dashka Stone is a massive artifact covered in a complex, three-dimensional relief that, to many, looks unmistakably like a sophisticated topographic map. The intricate lines are said to chart the very region where it was found, depicting mountain ranges, river valleys, and a vast system of what appear to be artificial structures. Proponents point to detailed features that resemble immense dams, sprawling irrigation canals, and a network of over 10,000 miles of engineered waterways. If these interpretations are correct, this would be evidence of a colossal, unknown civilization capable of terraforming the landscape on a staggering scale. The most radical claim, however, concerns its age. Some initial analyses of the stone itself suggested it could be many millions of years old, a timeline that would place its creation in a prehistoric epoch long before modern humans ever walked the earth. This single slab threatens to shatter not just history, but the entire timeline of intelligent life on our planet. Mainstream science, however, offers a far more grounded explanation. Geologists argue that the Dashka Stone is a beautiful and compelling example of a natural geological formation. The patterns we see are likely the result of mineral crystallization and the immense pressures of metamorphic rock formation, processes that can create astonishingly regular, almost designed-looking features. The debate over the Dashka Stone is a masterclass in how we see the world. Our brains are hardwired to find patterns, to see faces in clouds and animals in the stars. This same instinct drives us to see canals on Mars and ancient cities on a rock. The stone forces a humbling question: are we discovering a lost world, or are we projecting our own desire for one onto the silent, indifferent processes of geology? It stands as a permanent reminder of the fine line between a revolutionary insight and a profound misinterpretation. While this stone presents a puzzle of sight, our next relic presents a mystery of sound, an ancient instrument that seems to hold the very frequencies of the earth within its form. Scattered across a stark Peruvian plateau, a massive spider seems to crawl across the desert floor. This is just one of the many Nazca Lines, enormous geoglyphs so vast they can only be truly comprehended from high above in the sky. Etched into the arid ground by the Nazca people between 500 BCE and 500 CE, this sprawling gallery includes a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a monkey with a spiraling tail, a killer whale, and a humanoid figure nicknamed the astronaut. Alongside these biomorphic shapes are miles of perfectly straight lines, immense trapezoids, and complex geometric spirals that run for kilometers across the landscape. The creation method was deceptively simple, yet required immense coordination. The Nazca artists removed the top layer of dark, sun-oxidized stones and gravel to reveal the lighter, contrasting soil beneath. This technique created lines that have endured for 2 millennia, preserved by the region's dry, windless climate. But the how is trivial compared to the overwhelming why. Why would a culture with no knowledge of flight create an art gallery intended for a viewpoint they could never physically achieve? The sheer scale of the project suggests a purpose far greater than mere decoration. It was a communal effort on a staggering scale, a society-wide undertaking that must have held profound significance. One leading theory posits they were a giant astronomical calendar, with the lines pointing to celestial events like solstices or the rising of important stars, guiding agricultural cycles and religious ceremonies. Another suggests they were sacred pathways, walked by priests during rituals to invoke life-giving water from the deities, a desperate plea in one of the driest places on Earth. Some even speculate the lines were landing markers or messages for gods who traveled the skies. The true meaning is locked in the past, but the lines themselves are a powerful statement. They represent a drive to connect with something greater, to impose order and meaning onto the vast, empty canvas of the desert. They are a breathtaking mystery written on the earth itself, a puzzle that challenges our understanding of ancient sight and purpose. If the Nazca Lines were a tool for marking what was visible in the heavens, perhaps another culture developed a tool for seeing the unseen. A simple wooden disc, fractured by time and found at the ancient Norse settlement of Unatok in Greenland, reveals a sophistication that belies its humble appearance. This is not a piece of a bowl or a broken toy. Etched into its surface are a series of precise lines and a central gnomon hole, marking it as a bearing dial, a type of sun compass. On the open, featureless expanse of the North Atlantic, where the sea and sky merge into a disorienting sameness, this wooden fragment was a key to survival. It allowed Viking navigators to pinpoint their latitude by tracking the shadow of the sun, holding a steady course toward new worlds even under overcast skies by using it in conjunction with mysterious sunstones, crystals that could polarize light to locate the sun's position. This unadorned piece of wood is the tangible, physical expression of the knowledge that built the Viking Age. It was not just magic or reckless bravery that propelled their longships to Iceland, Greenland, and eventually the shores of North America. It was a profound, practical understanding of the earth and the heavens, carved into a handheld tool. This relic reminds us that true mystery is not always found in the speculative or the alien, but in the sheer, brilliant competence of our ancestors. Their ability to solve the immense problem of transoceanic travel with such elegant simplicity is as awe-inspiring as any more enigmatic artifact. The ingenuity that guided ships across vast oceans also sparked innovations in other, more volatile forms of ancient science. A cup that transforms its very substance with the light it captures stands as a testament to a lost science. The Lycurgus Cup, a Roman glass cage cup from the 4th century, is a relic of pure alchemy in your hand. Under normal reflected light, it appears a solid, opaque jade green, but hold it up to a light source and the cup undergoes a magical transfiguration, glowing a vibrant, translucent ruby red. This is not a trick of stained glass or simple pigments. This is dichroism, an advanced optical effect achieved through a technology that would not be formally understood for another 1600 years. Roman artisans somehow had mastered the use of nanotechnology. They impregnated the glass with a precise colloidal suspension of gold and silver particles, each one smaller than a grain of pollen, measuring only about 70 nanometers across. At this infinitesimal scale, the metal particles interact with light in a specific way, scattering the blue and green wavelengths to make the cup look green from the outside, while allowing the red wavelengths to pass through when a light shines from within. The precision required is breathtaking. The exact ratio of gold to silver, the size of the particles, the temperature of the furnace, all had to be controlled with a degree of accuracy we associate with modern laboratories. How did they even perceive what they were creating without electron microscopes? Were they following a meticulously guarded recipe, passed down through generations of glassmakers who understood the effect but not the physics behind it? The Lycurgus Cup is more than beautiful art. It is a physical demonstration that ancient craft could stumble upon and harness principles that we consider the pinnacle of modern materials science. It blurs the line between an artist's workshop and a nanotech lab, forcing us to wonder what other profound secrets were embedded in the decorative objects of the ancient world. This mastery over materials on a miniature scale finds its grandest expression in a relic that is not an object you can hold, but an entire city you can walk through. Göbekli Tepe rises from the Turkish plains as a profound anomaly in human history. This sprawling complex of carved stone circles was erected around 9600 BC, a staggering 6,000 years before Stonehenge was even conceived. Its builders arranged massive, T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing over 10 tons, into precise rings, each pillar adorned with breathtakingly detailed reliefs of foxes, boars, scorpions, and vultures. The sheer artistry and coordinated labor required for such a project is staggering enough, but the true revolution lies in who built it. This sanctuary was not the product of a settled, farming society with a surplus of food and a structured hierarchy. According to all conventional archaeology, Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers. This single fact shatters a foundational pillar of our understanding, the long-held theory that agriculture and permanent settlement were the necessary catalysts that allowed humans the time, resources, and social organization to create monumental architecture. Here, the very opposite seems to have occurred. The construction of this sacred site, requiring hundreds of people to work in concert for generations, may have been the catalyst itself, the social glue that first brought nomadic bands together and perhaps even spurred the invention of farming to feed the workers. Who was the visionary that organized this project across centuries? What powerful belief or shared purpose compelled these early people to quarry, carve, and erect these stone giants, only to deliberately bury the entire complex in earth 3,000 years later, preserving it for our discovery? Göbekli Tepe does not just push back the date of the first temple, it inverts the entire narrative of civilization, suggesting that the human drive to build for the gods may have been the very spark that created society as we know it. This monumental sanctuary forces us to rewrite the first chapter of our collective story, proving that the seeds of civilization were planted not in fields of grain, but in circles of stone. Buried deep in the sands of a Romanian riverbank, a metallic wedge was found resting beside the bones of a long-extinct mastodon. This is the Aiud Wedge, an object that should not exist. Composed of an alloy dominated by aluminum, it was encased in a thick layer of oxide that suggested immense age, a relic sleeping alongside creatures from a prehistoric world. The problem is elemental. Aluminum almost never occurs in its pure metallic form in nature. To produce it requires an immensely complex industrial process, the Hall-Héroult method, which uses powerful electrolysis to separate the metal from its ore. This technology was not invented until the 19th century, so how did a refined aluminum alloy end up buried in a stratum dating back thousands of years? The official, skeptical explanation is that it is simply a fragment of a more modern excavator bucket or drilling tooth that somehow worked its way down into the ancient layers. Yet, for those who study anomalies, this explanation feels incomplete. The wedge's unique shape and the context of its discovery create a puzzle that refuses to be neatly solved. It stands as the quintessential out-of-place artifact, a sliver of industrial technology seemingly dropped into a prehistoric setting. It forces a radical question: could a forgotten civilization have stumbled upon a method to produce such advanced metals, only for that knowledge to be utterly lost to time? The Aiud Wedge is a cold, hard piece of a mystery, an anachronism that whispers of a past far more complex than any textbook narrative. As we approach the end of our journey, our final relic draws us from the riverbank to the abyssal plains of the ocean, to a discovery that may rewrite the very origins of human civilization. Beneath the clear, blue waters off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies a site that seems to defy the ocean itself. The Yonaguni Monument is a sprawling, massive formation of rock that descends like a giant staircase into the deep. Its surfaces are dominated by sharp, right-angled corners, perfectly flat platforms, and what appear to be steps, terraces, and even a triangular tunnel. To the human eye, the geometry is overwhelming, a structure that looks deliberately designed. For some researchers, this is the sunken ruin of a city, a remnant of a lost civilization that thrived when sea levels were dramatically lower, perhaps over 10,000 years ago. They point to features that seem too perfect for nature alone, like two colossal pillars that appear placed to prevent a ceiling from collapsing, and a rock that perfectly resembles a human face. If this interpretation is correct, it would mean a society capable of monumental architecture existed in Japan millennia before anyone thought possible, rewriting the prehistory of the entire Pacific region. Yet, the opposing view is equally compelling. Mainstream geologists argue that this is simply a spectacular example of natural sandstone weathering. The rock in this region is prone to fracturing along sharp plains, and the powerful, relentless currents of the ocean could have carved and smoothed these features over eons, creating a stunning but entirely natural masterpiece. The debate cannot be easily settled, for the monument is a perfect Rorschach test, challenging us to see what we believe. Is it the ghost of a city, or the beautiful, random artistry of the earth? It stands, or rather sinks, as a profound reminder that our planet's greatest secrets may not be on land, but hidden beneath the waves, waiting for the tides of our understanding to shift. These 28 relics, from the intricate gears of the Antikythera Mechanism to the submerged terraces of Yonaguni, form a collective puzzle. They are not merely isolated curiosities, but scattered pieces of a much larger picture, one that suggests our history is far richer, more complex, and more mysterious than a simple timeline can capture. They whisper of lost knowledge, of civilizations that rose and fell, leaving only the most durable fragments of their genius behind. They challenge the linear narrative of human progress, hinting instead at cycles of discovery and forgetting. What do we do with these anomalies? Do we dismiss them as hoaxes or misinterpretations to preserve our established story? Or do we allow them to expand our vision of the past, to accept that ancient people were not primitive but possessed different, and in some ways profound, understandings of their world. These objects invite us to remain humble, to keep questioning, and to continue exploring, for the next great relic that challenges everything we know is likely still out there, waiting to be unearthed. So many anomalies scattered across time and place begin to form a constellation when we step back to look. The gears of the Antikythera Mechanism, the nano-infused glass of the Lycurgus Cup, and the impossible stonework of Puma are not isolated flukes. Together, they sketch the outlines of a different kind of past, one where the march of technology was not a simple, straight line from primitive to advanced. Instead, these relics suggest a history punctuated by brilliant flashes of discovery, periods where certain cultures achieved a profound understanding of their world, only to have that knowledge fade away, waiting centuries to be reborn. We see the same themes echoing from the mountains of Peru to the plains of Turkey: advanced astronomy, engineering that defies its available tools, and the tantalizing hints of energy sources we thought were our own inventions. This recurring pattern points to a possibility that both excites and unnerves us: the idea of pre-civilizations, cultures that rose to a technological zenith long before the first pharaoh ruled Egypt, leaving behind only their most durable creations as clues. Our entire framework of history is built on the assumption of linear progression, a steady climb from the Stone Age to the Silicon Age. But what if that framework is wrong? What if human development is not a climb, but a spiral, or even a cycle of forgetting and remembering? These 28 unveiled relics force us to confront that very possibility. They are not just a collection of curiosities, they are a challenge to the story we tell ourselves about who we are and where we come from. And this leads to the final, most personal question, a question that reverberates from these ancient stones into our own modern lives. If entire chapters of human achievement can be lost to time, what does that say about our own legacy and the knowledge we hold so certain?